Hello, everyone. I am checking again if we are actually live because I do not trust the tech. Let's see. It says upcoming. Okay, we're here. So if you are watching live, welcome. If you are tuning in for another week, welcome back. If you're watching the replay, hey, I want to hear what you think about this too. I am really enjoying doing these. This is very easy for me because there's no editing. So we can just show up and show you what we are working on and the cool possibilities for you when you start to integrate AI well into your business and stop just like talking to ChatGPT and actually use it in a way that changes how you operate. So today we are going to cover a few things. Let's add my screen share to the stage. Okay. So today we are going to cover the launch command center that has been running the entire lab launch this time around. This one has been really helpful for me because especially over the last week or so, if you are following on Instagram or my emails, then you know that I went away off grid last week. And this was one of the reasons why I was able to do that. And the launch kept going without me having cell phone service, internet access, or anything like that for most of the time. Sometimes we were back in service depending on where we were on the highway, but there was a lot of times where it was not. Also, fun fact, I actually had cell service at the top of a mountain, about 10 kilometers back into literally the middle of nowhere. So that was fun to notice. Sent my mom some pictures from the top and felt bad about it afterwards because I realized I was not going to be able to tell her I made it down okay. So we're going to cover the launch command center that has been running the lab launch for me this time. We're also going to talk about the launch tech stack because I have had some questions in my Instagram DMs about what tech tools are helping me actually manage all of this, because it's one thing to say, oh, my AI is helping me, but the way that I integrate AI into businesses is by trying to get them to work where you're working. So rather than you building out all these custom solutions or having to sign up for a bunch of different platforms, I'm like, what platforms are we already using? What's already working well? And how can we integrate AI as a literal team member in the places you're already working? So I'm going to show you the tech stack that I use to sell and deliver Leverage Lab as an example so that you can see what kind of tech tools are possible. And maybe you are using some of these as well. So then you will see, oh, it's possible to do this with mine. Then we're going to get back to the 5-layer framework because I think it's so important to remind you of the process, the foundation, so that you can build well from here. And these are going to be like the 5 things that you need to build systems like what I am showing you here. And then at the end, I'll tell you a little bit about Leverage Lab. We're getting started with the next cohort next week. Very excited for everyone who is already enrolled. So if you wanted to join us there, stick around to the end and I can share a bit of information about that as well. So that's kind of where we're going, where we're starting, and let's get into it first with a recap on the levels of AI integration. So I've covered this a few times, but we need to have a reminder because I want to show you where you probably are now. I want you to have an understanding of that and then where you're going, what's possible, because understanding what's possible is really half of the battle. If you can think it, if you can dream it, we can probably build it, which I think is so cool. So with level 1, that's where you are probably comfortable talking to ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, whatever platform you're using. You are using it collaboratively, manually. You'll probably be saying things like, I use it as a sparring partner. I have it edit my emails so I can sound more professional. Things like that mean that you are using AI in a kind of a level 1 area. And I want to get you up to level 2 and level 3 because that is where your business fundamentally changes, where level 2 is AI is embedded into your automations. You're using tools like Zapier. I have Relay on the slide, but I need to remove that because they went down, it sounds like, which I really liked them as an alternative to Zapier. So maybe you are using Claude Cowork or ChatGPT's new work, but you're still babysitting it. You're still involved a lot. It's still kind of manual, or it's more of the like Zaps are kind of like their conditional logic tree formatting, rather with AI steps built in, rather than a truly agentic system. So that's level 2. We're starting to use AI, but it's not the whole thing. Then level 3 AI integration is where your agentic team triggers based on conditions. It works proactively and reactively, completing work for you. It works where you work, and you can delegate to it so that it runs truly autonomously on its own. This is where I'm at. This is where I try to get most clients to, because this is where you start to raise the standards of how your business is operating overall. It makes a huge difference. And this is where you see people talking about agents and all of that kind of stuff. So I'm going to give you an overview of all of these. And if you are watching back on the replay, I would love you to comment telling me where you are now and what you would like your business to look like as you continue to integrate and learn what is possible here. Then, quick overview of who I am. If you are new here, hey, I'm Jill Wise. I lead and build growth strategy. So that includes AI systems to work smarter without sucking. That includes, over the years, brand strategy and direction, growth marketing and distribution, automated sales funnels, and more recently, agentic support, and how we can integrate AI through all of these things to help you do more with less, but not make it suck, because there's just too much bad AI slop out on the internet. So we want to make sure that we're doing it properly. Now, story time. I started telling you a little bit about this already, but I went camping last week and I am in the middle of a launch. And this was a last minute booking, which was both exciting and scary, because I'm like, my job right now is being available, talking to leads, making content, selling out more spots in my group program. So what do you mean I'm going to go off grid for a few days? Like, I need to be available. So that was my initial reaction. And then I was like, wait a second, like, I built the systems that help me operate every day so that I have less on my plate. Like, this is a true test for what is possible when I'm going to go off grid. Like, what can actually happen? So I went camping. We did a really long hike, 10 kilometers out and back in. We were the only ones on the trail except for some bears that day. It was fantastic. At the same time, my AI agents worked. So they were working on my full launch management along with the typical daily routines that they do. I talk about this often, but I have over 26 agents now. I think there might have been 28 as of this morning, because I built a couple more. 26 agents that are working for me on a typical day, doing all different kinds of tasks. When we talk about the launch team specifically, they were sending sales emails via Kit. They drafted fresh content and ideas in Notion for me in my content calendar, tracked engagement in my sales pipeline. They tracked enrollments via Kit and the Launch Command Center, and reflected that into my sales pipeline if they were leads that were being tracked already. So maybe I was having one-on-one conversations, they were in my emails, that kind of thing, versus somebody coming in off the email list. They updated my sales pipeline with any communication notes. So if a lead had replied to an email and gave me an update about where they were in the decision process, all of that gets tracked in my sales pipeline, and it helps me make good decisions about who I'm going to be reaching out to, where I focus my time, all of those. So all of that was still tracked. It also flagged interested leads via Kit engagement and my Gmail, so that I would have a list of people to do personal outreach to when I got back to my desk. It responded to initial inquiries via Instagram and Manychat, and collected feedback from previous lab learners so that I can use that in the remaining launch material. So this is a lot of stuff that my AI agents were doing for me while I was here. I was out here. There was no cell servers here, and it was fantastic. So when we are thinking about all of these things, why does this work? So it's one thing to say, oh, I have 26 agents that are working for me, but like, why does the overall strategy work? Because I do not think that building AI agents or agentic automations or anything like that, I don't think that that is like the be all end all that you see a lot of people hyping about. Like, having agents doesn't really mean anything if the overall growth strategy, and in this case, the launch strategy, doesn't make sense. So my launch strategy this time around was focusing on long lasting for my top of funnel and middle of funnel. So this is literally why I'm choosing to do YouTube and live streams specifically, because these videos, even if the views are lower live, these become marketing and sales assets that I can reuse. I have sent these out to the individuals that are warm. I've sent this out to my broader email list. This is something that I can reuse ongoing. And even if somebody's watching right now and they're not a good fit right now, they'll be able to see this in the next cohort enrollment. So I like to choose things that are long lasting, that have a longer lifespan than social only. And this is really important because, as you know, if you are marketing for your business and you're posting on Instagram, Instagram posts have a lifespan of like 24 to 48 hours. There was a while where reels were popping off that were a little bit later, and there's different things that you can do. Yes, but long form is longer lasting, especially when you are showing what you know. So that's why I built this launch around these AI show and tells and having this as like a pillar piece that I can come back to all the time. So in the case of me going off grid and my agents working for me, this becomes an input source that my agents can use to help me create more content, to help me send to warm leads. And it's just like so much more robust than an Instagram post that will fizzle out in a few hours. Then the next part was semi-automated and personalized middle of funnel. So this is where I'm using Manychat and Kit to automate the lead capture and then kind of personalize that journey wherever I can. So different lead types are tagged and segmented differently. They receive different emails. I use different lead magnets for different customer segments. So it's like there's different customer segments, and how can we meet them where they are to get the right people to learn more about the lab? So when we use tools like Manychat and Kit to automate that, then obviously that means that I don't need to be on all the time. So this is where I'm sharing Instagram posts that have comment X keyword, comment Y keyword, and it will trigger an automation that sends those leads the information or the free download or whatever the resources that they requested. In this case, I was driving people to these live streams and also driving people to other free resources I have that are related to the lab and to the lab sales page itself. There's also automations built out that you get follow-up messages from my automations and also from me. Because any new leads are tagged, if you came from Instagram, you might see that there's some messages where I'm very clear, like this is automated, but then there's also ones where I am actually messaging you personally because you have been tagged in my system as somebody that I should reach out to personally. And I really think that it's important to keep that human touch point in there. So if you have a message in there, check if it's actually from me, and feel free to reply there with questions as well, because I think that this is so important to automate, but also keep that personal and customized to the people, because we're humans, right? Like even B2B is human. So then the next part is the automated back of funnel and sales. I needed people to be able to enroll without me. And this is true all of the time, but it was even more important while I was away than ever. So when you can automate this back end, then it makes it so much easier. In the case of the launch, my sales email sequence is mostly predetermined and automated prior to the launch start date, with some room to keep it fresh. So you might have seen some emails that I clearly wrote more in the moment, including this post-camping recap, but that was actually kind of planned before by my AI. So when I got back, it was really easy for me to just give it the details it needed to finish off those pieces of content. So with that part automated, then emails were sent out while I was away and engagement was flagged. If we go back over here, you can see this is where emails are sent, engagement is tracked and flagged, tracking enrollments that are there, tracking interested leads that I should follow up to personally. All of that is in there. That's part of the strategy. It also automates the sales and onboarding with ThriveCart. There's upsells included in that, so that maybe those who are extra warm or a better fit for VIP, all of that is ready to go. All of it works without me there. So that's where I'm using things like Kit and ThriveCart to automate these sales and the bottom of the funnel to increase those conversions and get people registered, even if I'm not available. So when we think of this entire launch strategy, where other people might be focusing on, oh, I'm just going to post on Instagram, and why is nobody buying from Instagram? Instagram isn't really where people buy historically. Your email list is. Instagram is more of a top of funnel and sometimes middle bottom, depending on who is where. I like to create Instagram posts that are for specific leads that I have. So if I've ever posted something and you're like, Jill's talking to me exactly, I am. I am posting it for you exactly. But when you have this kind of well-rounded ecosystem like this, then it makes it easier for you to integrate AI throughout different steps of it and have it help you like pick up the pieces when you're not available, which leads to like the AI power behind it. So the reason why my launch strategy works and my launch command center and the agents running that were able to work even when I was off grid is because of the AI power behind it. So I have a business brain. I use Notion for my business brain. This is why your agentic AI and your LLM usage. So when you're chatting with ChatGPT, talking to Claude, if you are struggling to get outputs that you're happy with, if you're doing a lot of edits and repeating yourself, you can't quite remember everything, maybe you've set up some projects and it's still not quite right, it's because you don't have a business brain. You need to have somewhere where all of your context lives that your AI team can draw from without asking you. So my AI doesn't really need to ask me a lot of questions anymore because literally everything is documented. I have got as much as possible out of my brain into Notion. I've even gone as far as to have book reports and book summaries for different nonfiction books that I am reading, have read, so that my AI can reference literally books I've been reading this month and the things that I'm learning from it and how that applies to the work that I'm doing, because I have a process that runs after I finish a new book where it helps me create a book report so that those key takeaways that I have can live in my brain. It also gets all of my customer like messaging data, my marketing strategy, all of those different pieces live in the brain so that it knows everything that's going on, project tracking, all of the things. That is step one of any agentic build you're doing. You need to have that brain or it's not going to work. Step two is this Claude Code routines. So this is where I run AI agents mostly via Claude Code right now. I'm not married to Claude Code. It's just the best one for my use case and a lot of my clients' use cases right now. I know there are other options, but I find this is like the simplest, ease of use. The UI desktop is fantastic. There's no need to go directly into the terminal and use that black screen anymore. Very easy to use. So in my Claude Code, my AI agents are firing reactively, proactively. Like I mentioned, they're based on conditions, triggers, and they communicate with each other and me via the brain or sometimes Slack as well. I want them to post messages to me in Slack because that's where I communicate with clients. So I'm already in there too. When you set it up like this, then your agentic AI ecosystem will technically be platform agnostic. It's also, I should actually explain that before we go on. Technically platform agnostic because the way that these routines in Claude Code are set up and backed up, I can port that over to a different platform if Anthropic goes down tomorrow. I do not have to stick with Claude Code. That's just where they're built today, but it would be so easy to just take everything that I built there and plug it in somewhere else, especially because my business brain is separate. I can just connect those pieces again. I'm not doing a big migration project to move things over. I'm not married to the platform. So that's what I mean by technically platform agnostic. I can switch and it will be relatively easy. I like this because there is an AI arms race right now. And when clients are new coming to me, they're like, why would you pick Claude over ChatGPT? And because the features are better right now, the AI processing power is better right now. I'm really enjoying Fable 5 and how that's working. So there's many reasons why, but I don't want to build it for you in a way that could potentially be outdated if something happens to these big players at the top. So when we build it this way, you are mitigating that risk so that you don't have to worry about what happens in that case. Also, this works because when you have a business brain, all of your agents are context aware of everything that's happening in your business. Mine can see like the tasks I'm doing every day. It helps me figure out what I should prioritize every day. It sees the projects that are shipping for clients. It sees what clients are sending me messages in Slack. It sees my email, my calendar. I like that connectivity because then it's context aware and I'm not having to explain myself all the time. It just knows. It's literally like having an EA when I'm talking to my orchestrator agent. I also like that it works where I work and it communicates like a team member. So I don't actually need to go into Claude most of the time now. If I'm working on a project manually or actually like have to sit down and work on something, then maybe I will, but I actually work mostly out of Notion in my project tracker and move things along through my Kanban boards there and assign Claude tasks from there. And then it can see, oh, there's a task for me. Hey, I'm Claude. It's assigned to me. Now I can go action on this task, and all of those details are in Notion. I don't have to sort through sessions or conversations in Claude anymore. It's all tracked in the project tracker. And this helps with the communication part as well. And I will explain why when we get to that 5-layer framework, how they all kind of work together. But this is why the launch was able to work like this, because we have a strategy that is easy to implement AI into. And then we have the AI power in a way that integrates so that it's just adding another layer. So if you are following along live, I would love to know. If you have any questions, I will keep jumping over here to the comments so that I can see. And if you are watching the replay, feel free to drop questions there too, and I will check those out afterwards. Okay, getting on to the next part. Let's look at the Launch Command Center itself. So I showed a little bit of this last week, but we're going to go more in depth. So this is the top of my dashboard. I can't, unfortunately, show you it live because there's customer information, obviously, that is blacked out, but I can give you screenshots. So I've seen a lot of people building custom CRMs, and I think honestly, those can be great, and they can also be a waste of time if you are not skilled in the technical setup as well, because it's one thing to have something that looks nice, but is it actually functioning? Does it connect to where you're working? Do we have all of those layers that we need? I built mine again in Notion just because that's where I'm already working. It makes sense to have it already in here. My AI is already plugged into Notion. Very easy to do it this way. So in the Launch Command Center at the top, it has this draft for me. It explains that like this is a routine that's enabled. It wrote the patch for me. My agents, if you go back and watch some previous sessions, I'll explain how all of this was built. But it set it all up for me in a way that I like to work. It's following my formatting, my preferences, all that kind of stuff. I've got my pulse right at the top. It gives me like the date. Here's where we're at with the enrollments. Here's some things that I have to do this day. This is from last week. So it would be updated for today, but just to give you an idea of what that starting point is. Below this, it is listing any upcoming to-dos. So like the fact that I needed to get ready for this show and tell again. Will tell me where it is already sending out the reminders via Kit. So it knows that I'm going to do this recurring, and it will duplicate the emails in Kit from last week to send reminders this week with what we're covering this week, because it's smart enough to know, hey, we're not going to cover the same things every single week. I need to update this list of what we're working on in these reminder emails, draft those in Kit, let me know they're ready. I just have to go and approve. It's amazing. So that's how the Command Center is kind of like the central hub for all of the pieces. And this is in my brain too. We'll draw a brain here. This is in the brain. And the reason why it works well in the brain is because then it is context aware on everything else that's on my list. So in my dashboard that I get every single morning, which I'm going to show you, here is a screenshot. This is my main dashboard. This is where I log in first every single day before I check Slack, before I check emails, before I open Claude. This is where I'm going. It is a summary of everything that I need to do today and everything I need to know about what my agents have done, what's coming up, all of that for me exactly how I like to see it. So everything in this Launch Command Center, the recap will post to my morning brief. I can check out the more details in here, but all of it is kind of like centralized. This one, I've also explained that the agent who writes my morning brief is kind of like my orchestrator agent. And I can draw a visual of what that means for you here. Actually, first, we should do a quick recap of what are agents. Agents are working independently to produce an output. They trigger when those conditions are met. They use skills to complete work in your workspaces. It's kind of like there's a human. But then the skills, you probably see people selling Claude Code or Claude Skills, skill packs, skill files, whatever, plugins, that kind of thing. Skills are specializations that your agents have. So those are like my fancy pieces of paper. Can we see those on the screen? Skills are like the fancy piece of paper that I've paid lots of money to have by going to school, completing courses, that kind of stuff. Those are skills. specializations that your agent have. These can include workflows, preferences, parameters, style guides, examples. They're just like specializations, right? So agents can have skills. Where's my drawing? Where's my drawing here? Agents can have skills, but skills are not agents. If someone is selling you a skill pack as an agent, that is wrong. That's technically incorrect, and you need to look into that. Agents are working autonomously. They can access skills. I have agents that have access to multiple skills, and some agents that only use maybe one skill, but agents are separate. So when we go back to my orchestrator agent that is posting my morning brief for me, orchestrator, the way that this works is because, where did that blank document go? Blank page? Where did we go? Blank page. Blank page disappeared. Make a new blank page. When we have an orchestrator, they're kind of at the top here. They're in charge. Let's give them a crown. They're in charge. They are orchestrating the rest of the agents. So for me personally, there is a client side. My pen is a little unsynced, so we're not going to get my chicken scratch today, maybe. Clients, client ops, and then there's a business growth side. There's also some overlap where there's like admin, that kind of stuff. Maybe this pen will work better. I think my pen has just died. I haven't charged it in a while. So because we have the orchestrator at the top, it has access to everything that they're doing. All of these agents are posting into the brain exactly what they are doing. Can I write text on here for you? No, that's just going to complicate it. We're not going to do that. Not going to do that. All of these agents posting to the brain means that everybody's aware of progress. And again, I'm not searching through Claude sessions, conversations for what these guys are doing. They are doing everything they need to do and posting it where they would normally do if they were human team members. You know, you have a VA, have a project tracking, some kind of to-do list, some kind of campaign board. They're going to update you there of what they've done. I'm doing the same. Sometimes they'll send me a message in Slack with those updates just because I've set certain agents to do that so I can get that quick recap. My daily sales agent, I like to do that. My transcript watcher, I like to do that because sometimes there's some nuance that I want to send it quickly when I'm on the go. So I want those to post in Slack. Otherwise, they're running on their own. And then the orchestrator at the top is the one who is writing this brief from me based on everything it is getting from the client ops, which kind of is a mix between from the client ops, the business growth, the admin. And then right now there's also the lab launch command center. So that is where it's all feeding into this one. And I get this brief in the morning because of how they are talking together. So this works because of the 5-layer framework, which am I going to get to draw on this slide? We love to draw on this slide. We don't get to draw on the slide. You don't get my chicken scratch today. So the 5-layer framework, first we have the brain. I keep talking about the brain. It's really important to have your brain, your business brain, because then everything that lives in your head, how you make decisions, your frameworks, your way you like doing things, all the things you have to remind people of, all of the questions your team, customers ask you, all of that, get that out of your brain. Make a second brain that is for your business. Then you can start to build agents based off that brain. The agents aren't going to work. Your agents have skills. They are not skills though. Let's go back to here. Reminder, your agents have skills. They are not skills. When you have these two, then you can start to think about what are my agents producing? Like what do I actually want them to do? And where is that going to land? For me, it's landing in my project tracker. That's typically where I recommend for clients as well. Sometimes it might be that it lands like in your Google Drive or in a local file folder or wherever you want it to land, but then having the progress tracked in your progress tracker is really important too. That is because it's part of the communication. When we think of communication for AI agents, you've probably heard that some people are like texting their agents on Telegram, or I've mentioned Slack before. Those are definitely good communication channels, but If we want to continue to feed the brain by putting the communication directly in our project management tool, which is part of the brain itself, you can see how this all starts to come together. It's really connected. It solves so many issues with context, memory, and connectivity. When we have all of these things built, then we can start to think about improvement. So there's definitely things you can do to bring your agentic systems up from maybe they start at 50%. I love a system that starts at 50% accurate. That's fantastic. Because if we think of that in literal time saved, let's say your first run of your system takes you from a task that would take your whole afternoon. You're going to spend 4 hours doing this thing. If we look at some of the launch emails that I had to write, there's one example. Writing those would definitely take me 4 hours. There's a lot of them. Maybe it could take an entire day. If those emails are drafted to at least 50%, maybe I'm only spending 2 hours on it. 2 hours that I just got back. What would you do with an extra 2 hours, right? So we want to look at ways to improve from that 50% great baseline up to 70, 80, and 90% over time. These include things like self-evaluations and feedback loops and making your systems more efficient. This is where we can start to think about usage too, because that's a big issue with AI is that, like, what are we replacing here? And are we being wasteful? We don't want to be wasteful. We want to be smart about how we're building the systems and efficient and effective so that it's like, okay, they're working properly, but they're also doing fewer steps, not calling a bunch of tools that they don't need, not using things that are just going to blow through your usage, trying to use things use your agents power like outside of peak hours. That's why I have a lot of mine that are running overnight. So I can try to make it just, just like conserve that energy. So we need this 5 layers in order for this initial thing to work. None of this would work if I did not have that brain, if I did not already have that agents clear on what they're producing and where it lands for every single thing that they're doing. All of those steps are documented. They can't just set this up on their own. You could go into Claude and say, hey, build me a launch command center. But if you don't have the details that are specific to your business documented first, you're going to have a hard time with it. It's like AI is what we get to last. First, we need the system. We need the frameworks. We need all of those pieces that are unique to your business. And then we choose the AI afterwards on top. That's how the layers all kind of work together and why it's important to follow it in this process. This is the exact framework that I teach my clients and I use to implement when I'm doing the work for clients as well. And it works every single time. And I want you to remember this, whether you are going to work with me or not, just so that you can keep this in mind when you are building out your systems with Claude. So if you like the sounds of all of this, and this is like something that you think would fit into your business, I am enrolling through the end of the week for the next Leverage Lab cohort. We're going to get started on August 4th because Monday's a holiday here in Canada. So this is where you are going to stop spending money on tools and finally build the thing underneath them. The foundations first in the form of a business second brain and operating instructions, and then you can build a custom AI system that runs without you. You will leave after 8 weeks with something that's actually working and then a repeatable path to build the next ones faster, because one system is cool, but we want more. And then one day you're going to end up like me with 26 getting closer to 30 agents working for you. And I kid you not, this is groundbreaking. I posted about this yesterday on Instagram. Yesterday morning, I literally had like a voice meeting with my agent while I was on the go, because I had ideas for some adjustments we could make to the scheduled emails for the launch this week, fresh ideas after being away. I also needed to be briefed on what was going on in the world of all the content that was going out today. And it was literally like talking to it, like voice style. And because it is connected to my brain and all the tools that I use and has all of that context, it was able to like communicate with me literally like I was having a meeting with a team member. And that's really cool. So that's how you're changing how your business runs. Because I did that, I freed up time for myself later that I was able to just go to the beach instead of doing more work into the evening. So how Leverage Lab works is it's part part live, part async, part pre-recorded. I know we're all busy, so I try to make it literally as easy as possible for you to join and make it fit into your schedule. So you will join a private Slack community. That's where we do async support. This works really well with my clients. I'm in Slack every single day, sending text messages back to you and voice, video, wherever it makes sense, reviewing your work, all that kind of stuff. You also get access to my learning dashboard. This is where your weekly to-dos drop. Resources in there include a mix of videos, screen share tutorials, cheat sheets, templates, use case database that if you've watched previous sessions of this is just all different kinds of use cases and systems that my clients have built inside the lab. There's also agentic skill files, an entire library of skill files that are for Claude AI. So these are kind of like pre-built specializations here that seem to be common for a lot of the clients that I'm working with. So I've kind of made them like off the shelf with customization instructions for you. So it's really easy for you to plug them in and make them fit for your business. So that's what the skill file library is. Very helpful. Also, you know that like they're kind of quality controlled because part of the value of agentic AI is the context behind it. And I think the reason why a lot of mine work so well is because I have been able to use the past decade of client work and frameworks and just my IP to train up these agents. And then I can turn some of their specializations into these skill files that I can then share with you. So it's literally just like plug in and it helps you customize throughout the process. There are also 3 live workshop style sessions and then 3 Q&A group calls throughout the 8 weeks. Some weeks have homework submissions for personalized feedback. A couple weeks don't have calls intentionally because it's kind of like a break for you to get caught up and just kind of reset partway through the program. It's structured like this because I have done programs like this, taught adults things like this many times before. Every single piece of content in this program is very intentionally designed in there. I'm not just coming up with them, like the previous cohorts are shaping them. And I'm quite proud of how it's set up right now. There's also the option to upgrade to VIP. There's a couple spots of this left as of today for partially done for you support. So with that VIP upgrade, you'll get extra one-on-one sessions with me, and I will help you create your entire system maps. You don't even need to do that part of the work. Based on our one-on-one sessions, I'll be able to generate that for you so that you can take that, plug it into your Claude, and it will be able to just build the pieces for you, making it a lot easier. So that's how it works. Who's inside? The lab is designed to be kind of like choose your own adventure style in the second half when we're building the systems, because part 1 is where we're building the business brain. Part 2 is where we are building out the agentic systems. Because of that means that we can get a range of business owners inside the previous and upcoming cohorts. So the frameworks stay the same, but the applications are personalized to you. And I try my best to really give you that personalized feedback, especially if you are submitting your homework on time, as we say here. So that's where I'm able to like literally get into your documents, make comments. You can take those notes that I've given you, give it directly to your Claude, and it'll help you set it up. The types of businesses, if you want an idea of them, obviously there's some online businesses. That's the type that I historically attract. There's service providers in there, some local trade services, consultants and coaches, all of those kind of things. Tons of range. We had home furnishing in the last cohort, photographer, lots of different kinds of businesses. If you're not sure if it's for you, please send me an email or a message. I'm happy to help you decide. I do not want you in the wrong place, but just know that there's a lot of different kinds of businesses in here. The investment is regular price $12.97. Then there's payment plans available. There's also the VIP upgrade. And then the biggest thing with all of this is that in week 4 and 5, I'm helping you choose the biggest ROI system to automate first, because we don't want you wasting your time in the 8 weeks. That would not make any sense. I want you to choose something that's either going to help you make more sales or make more time in your calendar. So yes, there is obviously an investment of time to learn all of these tech tools, learn how to go through the program material, show up to the calls, participate in the group. Yes, absolutely. But if you spend a little extra time right now, then after that, you will be set up to grow from here with that understanding already, feeling empowered to build out more systems beyond this. Your focus could be maybe on content marketing or on your sales strategy, your admin, your busy work, your client support, whatever it is. I will help you with my diagnostic process, and in our diagnostic workshop, choose where you're going to even start. Because I know that is a huge thing of like, where do I even start? There's so much I could do, especially if we start looking at like this huge list. You're not going to start with building out a full launch command center like this. You might start by automating a specific workflow that is a huge pain for you, takes up a lot of time for you, all of those kinds of things. And if you want to see what's possible with things that previous cohorts have built, check out the previous 2 live streams here on YouTube, and you will be able to see some examples of what people in the last cohorts have actually built, which I think is really cool. Okay, I think that is everything. We went through all of the slides here. The Launch Command Center, the AI system and agents that manage the lab launch. You got the 5-layer framework, your launch tech stack. Oh, tech tools. Did we give a specific slide about those tech tools? I'm going to give you a recap here, and I can post this in the description for you too. The tech tools that are running all of these different pieces, my launch strategy too. I mentioned some of them throughout, I guess, but I want to give you a specific list. So for the tech tools, I love using Kit for my email marketing. I switched over this year from ActiveCampaign, and I have found it to be exactly what I need for my type of business, and I've recommended it to many clients. The direct connector between Kit and Claude has been absolutely game-changing for me this year, because it is able to draft completed, approved emails from my content calendar in Notion directly in Kit. I don't have to go in and do the copy paste for emails anymore. This is not something that like an admin has to do anymore. It can do it on its own. And the way that I've set it up is that Claude actually sees when copy is set to approved in Notion and automatically goes and drafts those in Kit for me, following my preferences, my templates that I have, so that it's all consistent, it all looks the same, and then it's marked as ready for me to review. I just have to go in and check like, yes, it looks good. Probably don't need to do so much checking, but I really like to have that human in the loop to make sure that everything is correct. So that's what I'm using Kit for with this. I'm also using Kit, I should do a whole thing about this, but also using Kit to pull the engagement. So that's where I don't like to have my AI connected to any actual like sales dashboards or anything to do with money that feels sketchy for me. So the way that I have set up my segmentation and my tagging in Kit allows me to see what those purchase numbers are for my AI to see as well, without it having access to like actual sales dashboards. This is good because it can see, okay, this email is working. These people are clicking. Oh, look, now they have the purchase tag. It actually, like the funnel worked the way that it was supposed to. So because of that direct connector, my Claude can go in and pull all of those stats, pull the tags, check that anything has changed from yesterday, and give me that update in my Launch Command Center without me looking at my email, looking at my sales dashboard. It can do it all on its own. I also love using Notion for my brain and my project tracking, because it's, I don't know, it's a popular one, but it's kind of like in my world, Notion and ClickUp, I've flip-flopped for years. Notion makes the most sense for me right now. I like it because we can have those parts of it that are more like notes, SOPs, company wikis, that kind of stuff, with the project tracking Kanbans and those details in there. I could build the content calendar in there. It's amazing with the flexibility that we have. So I use Notion for that part. Notion is also where my sales pipeline lives. So if I have new leads that I'm talking to personally that are in my Gmail, that's all updated automatically because of my Claude agents. Then what else are we using? ThriveCart is where my bottom of funnel, my checkout, my upsells, and all of that live. It's also where I do the delivery in ThriveCart Learn. So that's a good one. I'm going to, again, leave all of these links below for you to remember and reference. What else are we using? Gmail, obviously. Instagram and Manychat. Manychat, I was not sold on for a while because I was like, oh, I don't want another thing. However, it's been more than worth it with how it's able to handle those initial inquiries. Because as we know, when we think of a funnel, I hate that I can't draw today. When we have a funnel, we think of it in this kind of shape. All of the people at the top, there's a lot of people at the top. So there's going to be a lot of people that are wanting to get your free resource. We know that it's better to have that engagement of the comment, the story reply, the message, and the DMs, instead of encouraging people to click a link. So that's where it's helpful, because you're naturally embedding engagement tactics into your Instagram strategy. It's also helpful because if 100 people are asking you for this, 100 of them aren't even going to click on the link. So you don't want to waste your time with all of those pieces, and it can get them through that initial outreach. So then you know it's worth your time to reach out to them because they've been tagged because of their engagement. So if we go back to here, it's flagging those, responding and flagging those interested leads for me so that I can go and follow up personally. So it just kind of helps with the stuff that's like, okay, a human doesn't need to do this part, but now this is where a human should step in. So I believe that's all the tech tools that I'm using. Hopefully I got to all of them. These are the details about the lab. If you want to join us, we are enrolling through the end of the day Friday. So there's a couple more days so that we can get started next week. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments here. Send me an email, DM, and I will see you probably next week.